Welcome to this edition of Overreaction Monday with 2 weeks to go in the National Football League regular season. This podcast and show is always brought to you by our friend at Game Time, the fast and easy way to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Perfect timing at this time of year as well to make a great gift or go on out there and go to a live event with your family and friends. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code OVERREACTION for $20 off your first purchase. Anyone who is watching on our YouTube channel knows we're not in the Rich Eisen Show studio because the Rich Eisen Show is dark this week for the Christmas holiday. Chris Brockman is zooming in from New York City, right? The city that never sleeps.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
City that never sleeps. The city's so nice, they named it twice, Rich. And let me tell you,
Yes, sir.
I am LA soft, brother. Holy smokes. It is like 10 degrees here. It is a bitter, bitter chill. I think my face literally froze off walking the streets of NYC last night. I am not built for this anymore.
The Polar Express in New
My
York City.
goodness.
And there's a damp fog here in Los Angeles. And by the way, since I am in my my home office, shuttered away with only one light on because everyone else in the house is asleep, including two dogs, you might hear them bark at any time. So
I'm ready for a housekeeping invasion at any moment.
there will not be any such thing here on this edition of Overreaction Monday. Let's go and hit it.
That was terrible. That was crap. That was garbage. This place sucks.
Overreaction Monday.
All right, Christopher, what do you have over there? What do you got for me?
Okay, Rich, look, it was the biggest story coming out of the draft. It was the biggest story of the offseason. It was the biggest story to start the year when Kirk Cousins really struggled. And now finally it is Michael Penix time in Atlanta. And Rich, he looked great on Sunday. I got to say, as the Falcons steamrolled the Giants like we all thought, Michael Penix is going to lead the Falcons to a playoff win.
Wow, to a playoff win.
I mean,
Okay,
it's not just
Wow.
hot or overreacting to say they're going to win the division. They're in first place right now, thanks to the Dallas Cowboys taking care of business on Sunday night.
They
But
are.
to take it one step further, they're going to get a win. A playoff rookie quarterback is going to get.
Yeah, I'll push back and call that an overreaction because the Atlanta Falcons are going to be the 4 seed. Before we went on our break, and I looked into my crystal ball and I predicted some of the matchups for Super Wild Card weekend. I had the Rams hosting the Vikings on a Saturday night. And the Rams as the NFC West champs. And the reason why I bring this up now is because I thought the Rams would be the 4 seed with the Buccaneers winning in Dallas, and then they had their final 2 home games against Carolina and New Orleans. I thought that the Buccaneers would win out, certainly based on the way that they played against the Chargers just 8 days ago from this taping right here in foggy, chilly Los Angeles. So the Falcons or the Bucks will now be the 4 seed, welcoming in, at the very least, as you and I are talking right now, Chris, on Overreaction Monday, a 13-win wild card team. And
That's crazy.
it's entirely possible the wild card team that's the 5 seed in the NFC has 14 wins by the end of the day. So for Atlanta to make it, they're going to have to get a little bit of help, I think, because I think they're going to lose in Washington. I like the way that the Commanders won that game. I like the way that they're feeling great about themselves. I like the way that Jayden Daniels performed. I think they're going to be just filled with confidence, ready to roll. And I think Michael Penix's first career road start happening on Sunday Night Football in Washington, D.C. is going to be a very tough assignment. That said, Carolina is going to have a say. And as you and I have been talking about on this pod and on the flagship show for the last month, Carolina has been more than anybody's homecoming. They're not anymore. So I don't even know if Atlanta's going to make the playoffs. If it does, to say they're going to beat a Lions team that just lost to the Vikings and had their entire season upended, and that would be a problem for them to go to Atlanta? No. And the same thing potentially for Minnesota. So I'll push back and call that an overreaction.
All right. That decision to flex into Washington and Atlanta sure looks good right now, huh?
Well, certainly since that the other choices were Denver and Cincinnati. That's still alive with
That's
the
still pretty
Bengals
fun.
having
Yeah.
a faint heartbeat. And our game, the one that I'm calling here in Los Angeles in a few days, Rams and Cardinals. Cardinals got eliminated from playoff contention in an overtime loss in Carolina. So I guess they're going to be able to potentially spit their last breath at the Rams in favor of Seattle, which is going to need some help to have a Week 18 date here in LA against the Rams means something. So
Yep.
we'll see.
All right, Rich, you just talked about the NFC North. It's crazy how awesome that division has been all year. A 14 team could possibly be a wild card team.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even if it's this team, I still think the Vikings are the best team in the NFL right now.
Yeah, you can't argue against it. You can't. They haven't lost since a 5-day stretch to lose 2 in a row after starting 5-0. And I know, again, some Vikings fans were looking at previous past collapses thinking, here comes another one. That Sam Darnold would just turn back into a pumpkin and this team would just revert to the mean that everybody thought they were the team that nobody really was looking at in a 2-team NFC North race coming into the season between the Packers and the Lions because of how they finished their seasons last year. But here they are now sitting there with 13 wins, having won 8 in a row. And
Crazy.
Sam Darnold just killing it, man. Chris, I know you love this
he keeps
guy
balling.
too.
He keeps balling. I love Sam, dude. It's so happy. I'm so happy to see what he's been able to do this year because even going back to the USC days, you felt like this was in him. Like a type of NFL career and a season like this was the potential and boiling deep inside. And he's just been unleashed with Kevin O'Connell. Sure helps to have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Aaron Jones and TJ Hawkinson, but that's what it takes. You can't be a one-man team, and Sam's got all the pieces around him, and I think the Vikings are real contenders.
They are playing like it. I mean, honestly, you have to say they are playing like the best team in the NFL right now. They are healthy. They are consistent. They are explosive on both sides of the ball. They're opportunistic. They're very well coached. And you have to wonder, for real, if Sam Darnold is the 5th and final MVP finalist. I mean, I think let's just hash this one out right now.
I'm with you on that. Well, if you want to wait 1 second, we can talk MVP.
Let's do it. Then that very good. But I'll for this moment say I don't think you can say that's an overreaction. That you're overreacting. Minnesota's definitely not up there with Kansas City. Definitely not up there with Detroit or with Philadelphia or with Buffalo, which struggled against your Patriots. I don't know if there's an overreaction subject matter on that still to come here on
no. If you want to hit it here, go ahead.
Okay, no, I'll just say I'm not.
I was pretty surprised. Yeah,
I'm not going to discount Buffalo here. I mean, honestly, late December division games frighten me.
And we've like, despite that playoff blowout from a few years ago, we've weirdly played Buffalo pretty tough in the post Tom Brady era.
Honestly, and your guy dropping that one to Butte in the bucket, man. He is 100% a performer in the NFL this year. Drake May, that is. If we were in the studio this week, and maybe I'll just keep this in my mind for when we return next week. Top 5 performances few people are talking about in 2024 is Drake May. So I'm not going to sit here and go, Buffalo's less than, or they're Fugazi because they needed, a little bit of luck, a little bit of fortitude, a little bit of gumption to get past New England at home. No way, man. I'm not going to sit here and discount them. I thought that was a gritty win by Buffalo, actually. But Minnesota's up there with all of them, truly. And it is for real. Like you can't sit here right now 2 days before Christmas and say Minnesota has no chance to win the Super Bowl. You can't. They can absolutely go on the roll.
They can absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, and that's a tough place to play. Like going to the 12s in the weather.
No doubt.
That's a game that Seattle, that was only a 3-point spread. So even Vegas thought it was going to be close. And that's a game that Seattle would normally grind out. DK Metcalf was back involved. JSN had another huge game.
Right.
And to get in there and get a win, I mean, get out of there unscathed. They're really doing it, man. They're really impressive.
but Seattle's in trouble. Finishing their home
Seattle's in
record at
trouble.
3-6. Now they're short week on the road at Chicago, which again, has lost 9 in a row. And then they finish up at the Rams, but the problem is that might not mean anything if the Rams knock off Arizona and just wrap this thing up.
Yep.
And then I would be back on NFL Network on Monday and just drop the mic and say I saw that one coming before anybody put their marker on the Rams to win the West. But Arizona is a terrific team, and they're one of those teams that
they're on the come up.
Yeah, can obviously put something together. But
shout out James
line,
Conner, that dude's a beast.
No doubt. Not an overreaction that Minnesota is the best team in the NFL right now.
All right, let's talk MVP, Rich. Look, I saw what happened in Buffalo yesterday. I know he's still the favorite, but for me, MVP is a 2-horse race between Lamar Jackson and Jared Goff.
Really?
Look, I was sleeping on Goff. You mentioned him a while ago as being, he had that 1 week where he was kind of the front runner. I just think the consistency of Goff to do that on the road, a tough place to play, Chicago division opponent. We saw how close Thanksgiving was, and he's just throwing dimes.
No doubt.
You don't think I got the arm? Watch this uncorked bomb I'm going to throw to Jameson Williams. Like, this guy can do it all. And look, they're the number 1 seed in the NFC right now.
Yes.
Their quarterback has to be in the mix for MVP. And I saw what Lamar did against Pittsburgh, a team that has had his number for a long time. And Josh Allen was less than. Look, they spotted New England 14 points.
No, I'm with you.
I think it's Lamar and Goff right now.
I'll call that an overreaction because we can't just discount Saquon and
I know, but Rich, even it's not a running back award.
I'm aware of that, but you can't just say it's a 2-horse race between last year's MVP and 2-time MVP Lamar, who did have a terrific game against Pittsburgh at home, and Jared Goff when Josh Allen has been doing Josh Allen things, and the Bills did win. I mean, the Bills do have 12 W's right now. The Bills are right there with the same number of wins as the Eagles, and one less than the Vikings and the Lions, and two.
But if you had Josh Allen in
they're
fantasy
the only team
on Sunday,
that
you probably lost.
They're the only team that beat Kansas City too, and so hey, we also found out that Josh Allen's been playing with a broken left hand for the first 2 months of his MVP campaign when he was a clear front runner for the award, and what he did in Los Angeles in a loss, and what he did against the Lions and Goff in a win. That said, we've named 4 finalists, and the question will be who's the 5th, and is that 5th Sam Darnold? And you have to make the case that he is that one. Obviously Derrick Henry could be in that mix.
Even Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, maybe outside.
Well, I mean, Jamar Chase, I think, is an Offensive Player of the Year candidate, along with Derrick Henry and along with Saquon Barkley. I think those are the ones where, as you know, the Offensive Player of the Year award goes to the player that's discounted from the MVP because they're not a quarterback, right?
Right.
So, so I think we're around the edges, but let's give the flowers that I think you're wanting to give or have already verbally given yourself to Jared Goff, because that game in Chicago is exactly what a most valuable player should do for his team after they just lost yet more significant players due to injury. After all of that, and the narrative in our world is the Lions have finally suffered too many injuries to be considered still Super Bowl contenders, let alone favorites, going into Chicago against a team that did play well against them in the second half on Thanksgiving and did have all the pieces in place yesterday to shock the Lions coming in the freezing cold, where, as you know, Jared Goff is supposed to be Bambi coming out of his Cal Bear, Los Angeles Ram background, living in Ford Field, playing indoors with gloves on his hands. And he dominated. And that one play, the play where he purposefully stumbled while Jahmyr Gibbs fell down to the ground to make it look like there was a loose ball on the ground, but instead he was that was the ultimate play fake. I mean, that is truly the 1,000,000% greatest play fake I've ever seen. That's honestly, that's one of the greatest play action plays you've ever seen. That the action is to fake that there's a fumble on the ground.
Right.
Only to
That's
have
like
a wide
Marino
open
spike to the next level.
dude. That was. Did you hear that Goff said after the game that Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator throughout the week, asked Goff originally, could you actually purposefully drop the ball and pick it up? And
Oh,
Goff,
wow. No, I did not hear
yes, he
that.
said that. That was the original plan, was for him to truly fumble it on purpose.
Oh,
And
man, that
then
ball
pick,
takes a bad bounce and you're so screwed.
which is what Goff said. And Goff, which is again,
Yeah, I mean,
more value, right? That's more
Al Bear, smart.
proving his valuable nature, saying, yeah, that I don't think we should do. So they scrapped that and then came up with this plan to fake fumble it, which is again another point about what you love about the Lions. That they're not like, well, we got this fumble play in the bag. Let's not break it out against the 8 loss in a row Bears, in week 16. Let's save that in our back pocket for when we really need it. And they're like, screw it. There'll be more in the bag where that came from. And so it was awesome. It was great. Goff is worthy of being a finalist for the MVP. I don't know if he's going to be, but it's certainly not a 2-man race right now, just between the two.
All right. Okay.
That's an overreaction.
All right, Rich. Last one before halftime here. Look, I'm looking at the AFC playoffs. We've been talking about this for a while.
Yes.
I think the final AFC playoffs is still up for grabs. It's not going to be decided until after week 18.
You mean
the final playoff spot? It's not going to be decided until week 18. Nothing's going to get decided now. Nothing's going to get decided after week 17. We're going to week 18 for that final 7th playoff spot in the AFC.
So that would mean
Cincinnati beats Denver next week. Right. And I weirdly think the Colts are still alive. They've got the best shot.
The problem is, though, the Colts have already lost to the Broncos. I mean,
so are they out?
Denver.
No, Denver would have to lose out.
Denver would have, which, by the way, going to Cincinnati and then you go home to take on Kansas City. I mean, they better hope that there's no more, reason for the Chiefs to play anybody.
Right.
I'm not saying that's the only way that Denver can beat them, because and I don't, obviously I need to hedge my bet there, because Denver almost beat Kansas City when everyone was at full strength, with the exception of the Chiefs not having, Pacheco in that game. I'll say that's not an overreaction.
It just seems like we're still alive. It's going to still be kind of spicy down the stretch.
Right, because obviously there's 2 spots left. The Chargers are 97%,
right,
according to the old, next gen stattery, to be a playoff team, and it's Denver needing to lose out. And then, I mean, sure, I'll say that since all 6 and 8 teams did win on Sunday to keep it interesting in that regard. So I'll call that not an overreaction, because I think Cincinnati could absolutely beat Denver, man. And then
they're cooking.
and then you've got the Colts and Miami having stuff to play for. So we'll see. Did you see just an interesting note on this before we get to halftime? Did you see on game day morning the idea that the Dolphins, if they don't make it, may release Calais Campbell to let
I heard that
fella have a shot at a playoff spot and go ring chase?
That's a team doing a classy, distinguished, probably future Hall of Fame veteran, solid, and I like that.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, that would be a remarkable free agency period for Calais Campbell.
Yeah, I mean, he'd have his choice.
It would be interesting to see who goes and gets him, and then who he chooses. Like, who does Calais? He would be basically like a pundit again when he was a guest pundit on game day morning a couple Super Bowls ago. Who does Calais Campbell think's going to win the Super Bowl? Like that's
right. It's like that Super Bowl Bachelor.
I know, but obviously the Dolphins are still in it right now. But I don't think that's an overreaction. I think it does go to the last week. Game time picks is the new feature, relatively new, on the Game Time app that we've been telling you about that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Chris is in New York City right now, where there are so many live events from basketball to theater, comedy, concerts, and it's a perfect time of year for everybody to get together and create new memories just in time for the holidays by going to a live event. The all-in pricing feature is my favorite. You get to see your total upfront. There's no surprise fees at checkout at all. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets right now with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code OVERREACTION for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Visit GameTime.co for restrictions. Again, create an account, redeem our code OVERREACTION, and you get $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, Christopher, halftime here on this program. Go for it. Hit it.
All right, Rich, second half, we're going to do 2 NFL topics and a couple college football topics
I love
before
it.
we get to our look back. Rich,
Okay.
I got to talk about what happened in Washington. Jayden Daniels. God, I love this guy. He's going to win us a championship in the Sleeper League.
That's right.
Rich, Jayden Daniels is having the best rookie quarterback season of the 2000s.
Well, I guess what would you say are the standards here? Stroud last year, right?
Stroud last year. We've got to talk about the guy who was in Washington before him, RG3.
RG3.
I think Justin Herbert, statistically, they didn't make the playoffs, obviously, but he had a great season back there in 2000.
Can we?
Ben Roethlisberger didn't have the stats, but he did win a whole ton of games when he came in.
Do we
as a
hold it
rookie in
against
Pittsburgh.
Daniels that he's not going to win the division and Stroud did? Because the AFC South is definitely not the NFC East, right? So we
the South is definitely not the East. I think, look, Daniels getting double-digit wins and getting in the playoffs. I think that really matters. Now, look, Stroud did win a playoff game last year. That was huge.
That's what I'm saying. It's just
did beat
but
Joe
he was at
Flacco,
home thanks to
it was a home
a
game.
division. You
Right.
can't discount division wins, man. Certainly when he went into Indianapolis in that win or go home game, a de facto playoff game on the road. And remember, he hit Nico Collins on that first ball for a huge touchdown, like he was spinning it at the combine, that there was nobody around him. I mean, he had an incredible 2023. So I'm going to put a pin in this right now and say, let's see how it all plays out. But Daniels is making this question reasonable, not unreasonable, total overreaction.
Yeah, I think for wow moments, the kid certainly had so many of those. His first touchdown, and then just what he did on Sunday against the Eagles, and the rushing component. He has a real chance to set a rookie rushing record total there for quarterbacks. So this kid's got it all. He was the right pick at number 2.
No doubt.
An argument that he could have gone number 1. It's so much fun watching this dude play, especially when you have him in 2 fantasy leagues.
and you also double him up with Terry McLaurin as well. I mean, like that is, I think for fantasy football this year, the number 1 double up has been Burrow and Chase, and then number 2 after that, you have to say, has been a neck and neck between Jayden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, and got to say, it's Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson, man.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
In terms of fantasy football this year, Jayden Daniels has been just a delight to watch in reality football as well. And the Commanders have done a great job in bringing him along, but obviously his makeup has a lot to do with it. He just looks unbothered by anything. Like sometimes it looks like he's just not even in the moment. Like he's just looking around on the bench. Yeah, just that interception just happened, and we're up against it. And I don't know. I mean, give me another chance, coach. Put
him back out there and let's go.
It really is something to behold.
Yeah.
And
just the whole culture change with Washington. New ownership, new quarterback. The vibes are high. Look, they might get its renovation of RFK now. Like,
I think it's going to happen.
The whole vibe has completely changed with the Commanders, and it's really fun to see. It's like they're, like college football, when the Blue Bloods are in the mix, it's just a little bit more interesting. Washington is one of those teams for me. They're a 3-time Super Bowl champ, and so when they're back in the mix, it's just NFL is a little more interesting.
Yeah, and again, and then we'll move on here. I think that's just going to be a tall order for Atlanta to go in on a chilly Sunday night
Yeah,
and beat this Commanders team. And I know that the Falcons are feeling good about themselves,
they
but
should.
Penix is going to have to channel himself some Daniels and Stroud, and come up. Maybe he can. Maybe he can have one of those moments, and it's the Atlanta such moment that the Texans enjoyed and the Commanders have been enjoying. We'll see. That's going to be a great fun Sunday night where the Falcons need to win to stay in the destiny control seat of the NFC South, and the battle between the Heisman Trophy winner and runner-up from the year before, and the
Yeah,
second and eighth overall picks, and Week 17 on a Sunday night. That's going to be a blast, man.
that's great. That's great. I love it. All right, Rich. I watched the game on Saturday. I watched, Mahomes score the first touchdown on a
Oh
long
boy.
scramble.
Oh boy.
I've been seeing the comments that I'm such a hater
You
because
are
they're coming for all the
not an
Pats
overreaction.
records.
Not an overreaction.
Look, I've been worn down. Maybe it's just the cold, maybe it's the jet lag, I don't know.
Wow.
But the
Okay.
Chiefs are winning the AFC.
That's your
That's
your
it. The Chiefs are the
phrase.
AFC. Look, they
That's
don't
what
look
I'm
like
supposed
they
to
don't
react
look
to.
like the best team. They don't look
Yeah.
like the best team.
Right.
They don't look fast. They don't
Right.
look explosive. The
Uh-huh.
defense has holes.
Right.
Mahomes is banged up. He's not
Right.
as good as he has
Yeah.
been in previous years.
Yeah.
They're still the best team. They're still going to go to the AFC. They're going to the Super Bowl. They're going to go to New Orleans, and they're going to have a chance for the three-peat. Are they going to get it? I don't know, but they're going to be there.
You sound resigned, Chris. Like that's the adjective I would use. Like you're resigned to say such a thing, because
Yeah.
that's not an overreaction, Chris. I've been saying it since the Tuesday before Labor Day. I've been saying it when we did our show from Kansas City. I've been saying it since they were all lucky. I was saying it throughout. Just take a look at
Sometimes,
this,
sometimes the luck just goes your way for all
dude. It's
18
not
weeks,
just
and it seems
luck.
like it's happening.
It's not just luck. 6.5 minute drive in the fourth quarter, just in time. Just uncork that thing on
Yeah.
the Texans. Do
No,
that.
and Fairbairn's been one of the best kickers this year. He
Oh,
misses
it's
an
oh
extra
God.
point.
Don't,
Like,
don't,
you know what
Chris,
I mean?
don't slip back.
Like
Don't backslide. Don't
I'm
backslide
just saying,
into
all the
lucky.
breaks are going
Don't
their way, and you think they're going to
don't do
stop, and
it.
it's going to, come back to the mean, and it's just not.
You finally
They're they're
just turn. You're
they're,
finally turning. You're finally seeing the light. You're
they're going to the Super
finally
Bowl,
don't
and,
backslide into their
and
lucky.
we all just
Fairbairn
have to
missed one.
accept it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Just
All right, okay.
embrace
I'm just,
what you embraced during your dynastic years
just happening.
of being a Patriot fan. Embrace a team that wins close games because they're the ones who know how to close it out. They're the ones who can execute the game plan. They're the ones who can come up with the corner blitz on a crucial sequence where you just put up a 3-pointer to make it an 8-point game, and you're the ones who can send the corner blitz to 3 and out your opponent. You're the ones that can then get the ball back and pop one to Samaje Perine. Do you know how many times the rest of the football world would be like, oh God, we gave Tom Brady another chance, and here comes Kevin Falk. Here
Shane
comes James
Vereen.
White, right? You know what I mean? Like, here
Yeah.
come those guys. And it's the same thing. Here comes Samaje Perine on a backbreaker to start the drive for the Chiefs. Now they need just one more first down. And like a horror movie, putting your hand over your face, that Mahomes is going to come up with that first down. And that if Mahomes is hurt, just like when Brady was hurt walking on a walking boot around New York City before his Super Bowl, you knew he would perform well when it all came down to it. It's the same damn thing. That the coach is going to come up with the right play call. They're not going to shoot themselves in the foot. And if they do, it would just be like, where the hell did that come from?
Well, and when you get a fumble return for a touchdown, it's going to get overturned by a questionable roughing the passer penalty. You just
Okay,
know
or
all those things are going to happen.
it
You just know
happened
it.
for you.
So I just need to embrace it. I've embraced it. The Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. We'll see Chiefs Kingdom in New Orleans.
Not an overreaction. Can it be wrong at the end of the day? And this, comes back to, not age well. Of course that could happen. Of course, somebody's going to be able to hop into Arrowhead and give them a game and potentially beat them. Joe Burrow's the only one to have done that that's currently still in the NFL, and the other guy who's done it is in the booth calling the games next to Burkhardt. So welcome to what I've been saying.
All right. Yeah, you're right. It's good to be here. Good to be here. I'll pull up my seat. Okay, Rich, let's talk a little college football. You know, I had a great time watching these first 4 playoff games. Wait, hold on a second. No, I didn't. They were terrible. Rich, it's almost like 12 teams is too many for the college football playoff.
It's funny, you know, I did some instant reaction videos because our boy Jake Culp, who puts together our reels that are so much fun and so great from the terrific Be Known organization, our boy Brandon Kaminsky and everybody there. He's been like, you know, you got to do these instant reactions. People love it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, if you say so.
Sure.
So, you know, with us being dark this week on the flagship show, I came to this office, to this seat, and I did, instant reactions after Notre Dame boat raced Indiana, who almost backdoor covered, right? And then after Penn State boat raced SMU, even worse. And I kind of kept on saying, well, that wasn't great, but let's see what the other games can do. Well, this wasn't great either. And the instant reaction was, you know, maybe Alabama should have been in, maybe someone else should have been in, maybe
Miami. Like, it's a TV show, man. Let's see some of these stars.
But I think eventually I landed on what you just said. Maybe 12's too many. You know, maybe 8's enough.
Yeah, maybe
and
8's
then
enough.
Or we will see. You know, the issue could be that the seeding where the champions of a conference should get the bye week just because they won their conference's championship. They get the bye weeks. Or Notre Dame's not allowed one because they have the gall to not join a conference. So that's going to be their punishment, right? That maybe, just maybe, some of these teams that played first round games, some of the home teams should have been bye week teams instead of, I'll just say it, Boise State, or instead of Arizona State.
Right.
That maybe we should have seen those two teams play first round games to make more of a competitive game. I don't know. Maybe that's going to be the eventual, once everything comes out in the wash, answer. But when it all comes down to it, Ohio State versus Oregon would have been the Big Ten championship game if the Buckeyes didn't step on their Scarlet and Gray Johnsons against my alma mater. And let me just say this, watching Ohio State beat the crap out of Tennessee, I was sitting next to a Michigan buddy of mine. We were on a text chain with a bunch of Michigan friends, and we were all like, where was this team against us? Like, they could have thrown it to Jeremiah Smith on us in the same way.
Over and over again.
Because that kid, when the ball's in the air, you know it's going to be caught. Like, it's truly, it's just like, that's a touchdown.
Oh, he's got it. That's a touchdown. Yeah, that's a first down. That's a touchdown.
Chris, his 50-50 balls are like 80-20 balls.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Ibuka.
And he's a freshman. He's so good.
Their wideouts are so good, and they didn't use them against Michigan. And we didn't have Will Johnson, who may be a top 10 pick. He's going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL. But that said, Oregon versus Ohio State is a dynamite Rose Bowl. It is kind of an old school Rose Bowl. Again, one day we will stop looking at Oregon as a Pac-12 team, but that is a Pac-12 champ against a Big Ten champ game, right? That's going to be great. The other matchups, I think, should be compelling. Penn State and Boise State should be a lot of fun. They've never faced off against one another. You know, Georgia and Notre Dame is a heck of a football game.
That's fun.
So the Final Eight might prove in the very end of things, right? And I know Arizona State and Texas, we're all assuming Texas is just going to boat race them, but we'll see. But right now, I don't think what you just said is an overreaction at all.
And Rich, and then last college topic here, It's a rematch of a amazing game earlier this season. You just mentioned it in the Rose Bowl. It's going to be awesome. Winner of Ohio State, Oregon is going to win the national
I
championship.
don't think that's an overreaction either. Again, you're more of a Georgia watcher than I am. I'm more of a Big Ten guy than I'm as much a Big Ten guy as you are as an SEC guy. Certainly watching as much
I've
Georgia
been
football
converted.
as you watch with
Yeah.
Sarah.
Yeah.
So but I also do remember Texas coming in and curb stomping Michigan. They have the horses too, but so I'll just kind of push back and say.
That's the Ohio State team that we've been watching all year. I mean, you mentioned it, but it just seems like they went away from that game plan against Michigan, and it's almost like
Tennessee wasn't ready, man. Tennessee wasn't ready. I mean,
and that's another aspect of these games, like these warm weather schools having to play in cold Big Ten country. They're just not used to it, and it's really a factor.
Yeah, I think one of the announcers was pointing out during SMU and Penn State that you could take SMU's home stadium capacity, multiply it by 3, and fit it into Happy Valley.
Wow.
So I totally hear you, and I think these are proper reactions to say that Georgia and Texas can't pull it off because those are the other teams that I think we're going to be seeing. But obviously Oregon and Ohio State, and I'm so happy for our boy Deedon at the Rose Bowl and the Rose Bowl to get a game like this.
Oh yeah, what a game!
In a college playoff football quarterfinal in Pasadena, perfect spot. It's going to be. It is the greatest location for a big time college football game, and this one's going to be dynamite. But to say the winner will definitely win it all, I'll just push back on that. Push back on that.
Okay, Rich, let's look back. Let's
finish up again. We've been finishing up our pods the last couple of weeks with a 10-week ago look back. You always give me the ones you got right first, right?
These have been pretty fun. The ones we got right first. Okay, let's do that. Let's do the right ones first. This has been really fun. So this is post week 6. So this is like mid-October.
Yeah.
I said I had 2 actually that I thought were pretty decent. Lamar is going to win his 3rd MVP.
Okay, that's good.
That was kind of the discussion post week 6 that Lamar was balling out.
Yeah, because I think he had just beaten the Bills too, right? Okay, just right around then.
Yeah. So it's right around then. And then the other good one was everyone saying that Caleb shouldn't have went number 1 owes him an apology.
Okay,
that was after they were 4-2. That's after the London game.
You know what, man? But Caleb,
he was really
Caleb shows flashes, though. He shows the flashes.
He really does. Bro. And it's funny, if you did kind of a blind taste test of stats, he's having a very similar season to CJ Stroud last year. And everyone was, slurping Stroud. And this year we're saying that Caleb stinks. Yeah. It's just kind of funny to look at the narrative.
Honestly, I get it. He's 4-11. Going into his final 2 games, which
Troy Aikman was 1-15. Like Peyton Manning led the league. I know that too. Like it happened.
He's on his 2nd play caller already, and his
head coach got fired,
and he's on his 2nd head coach too.
Yeah,
and the head coach that he had to start was the defensive play caller, and the defense, as you could see, once Eberflus was not there calling the plays, I mean. They're getting whipped. Yeah. So this will hopefully make it all stronger for Caleb, but that's an interesting way to
I still have faith in Caleb. All right. Now this is the look back, the one that we got wrong, or I got wrong. This one's really bad. This was after the Vikings had lost 2 in a row, or they were about to. The Vikings will be the odd man out of the NFC North playoff battle royal. Woo! That's bad.
Everybody was saying it, Chris, in Minnesota too. Just like, here comes the trapdoor. They lost 2 in a row in a span of 5 days. They lost the Lions at home. They had the Lions right where they wanted them, but they were the ones who made the mistakes and couldn't close it out. And that's the mark of a team that just was fugazi. And then they lose a few days later to a Rams team that was their turnaround. Of the season. That was just a couple weeks before the trade deadline. Kupp was coming back from injury. Puka Nacua surprised everyone by coming off the IR in time for that game. And if the Rams had lost it, they might have just pulled it apart and tried to, salvage the season by getting some picks. And instead, they won that game. And look where they are now. And then a lot of people thought what you said, and look where the Vikings are now. But
yep.
2020 hindsight looks back on that and says, "Oh my God, was that way off?"
Oh my gosh, that was terrible.
Christopher, thanks again, man. Enjoy the rest
stuff,
of your vacation.
Yeah, same to you.
And we'll be back on the air on Monday on the Rich Eisen Show. Check out our Instagram feed throughout the week. It's been a lot of fun with looking back at some of our moments for the year on reels that we've been keeping in our back pocket to pop back out just in time for this. Enjoy your time. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to hit record. Just kidding.
Oh, God.
That was an overreaction. Okay, buddy.
I think I might have got thrown in the Hudson River if that happened.
See you later, buddy. Thanks again.
See you, pal.
That's it for Overreaction Monday. For Chris, I'm Rich. Peace out.